Yes, you are listening to the Ready, Set, Retire radio podcast with Steve Anzuoni. My name is Jessica Forkel. Get more details on the website at fairwayfinancial.net. Steve, it was a while back, but do you remember the heist at the most famous museum in Paris?
Of course, I was there, but not during.
Are you
the
sure?
robbery. I'm pretty sure I wasn't there, but not during the robbery. I'm pretty sure I wasn't there. I mean, I was at the Louvre. I've been there. It is amazing, but I swear it wasn't me.
Well, listen, we're going to find out because it turns out these four thieves, they actually disguise themselves as construction workers. They scale the ladder to the second floor of the Louvre in broad daylight, by the way. That's not weird, right? Just folks scaling the side of the building. That's not weird, right? Just folks scaling the side of the building.
No, it's the best time to do it, really.
Yeah, no one's going to notice you.
People don't recognize things before their eyes, right?
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
That was brilliant, that part.
It was brilliant enough to pull off a $102 million heist in jewels. And then the question everyone's asking is, well, how did they get past those security cameras? Apparently, it was as easy as guessing the password there at the Louvre. Guys, I can't even make this up. The password was actually Louvre. Are you kidding me? Isn't that crazy?
Do you think it was an inside job or what?
It sounds pretty inside to me. Pretty inside. These guys, they've since been caught and whatnot, but, it got me thinking about passwords. And you always see these things when you're changing your password for email, your phone, whatever. They don't want you to use password 123. They want you to use all these different signs and everything. It can't be simple, right? But
no, I have a password list for my passwords.
I do too.
Well, the problem is, it's password protected.
So you can't remember your password to get into the passwords.
I can't remember the damn password sometimes.
Oh, gosh. All right. Well, I'm going to get you a passwords notebook so you can write it in there, longhand.
Jeez.
But when you think about that, so they use Louvre for the password to get into the Louvre. And a lot of people think, well, it was simple. Well, simple doesn't mean safe, right? Especially when it comes to retirement. So, Steve, what are some of the most common mistakes that leave retirement plans vulnerable, much like the Louvre was with that dumb password?
I don't know if it could be that vulnerable, but, a lot of folks out there underestimate inflation, particularly since from 2019 to 2023, there was zero inflation. So people started to think, oh, well, I don't have to plan for that. And then, of course, the last few years really woke us up, which I think is a good lesson. And you have to factor that in. And, I hear a lot of people say, well, I'm going to be 85. Who cares at that point? And I'm like, yeah, well, if a loaf of bread costs $10 at that point, you're going to care. Your check doesn't increase with even basic inflation. You're going to have an issue. And people, they underestimate that inflation. And speaking of life expectancy, that's another one that people underestimate. And I'll hear people say, well, I don't plan on being here when I'm 90. And I'm like, well, how old were your parents? Well, they were 92 and 91. I'm like, yeah, well, you've got longevity in your family, which can be a blessing and a curse depending on how your health is. I mean, it's really that simple. So you got to understand that a lot of people are going to live almost as long in retirement as they have working, Jess. I mean, that's crazy, right? You think about it. You're going to work for 30 years, let's say, and you're going to be retired for almost 30 years. You better plan for that and have, a good income plan, not just a pile of money, because that pile of money can go fairly fast because healthcare costs are another huge one here. And obviously it's very hotly debated what's going on now with the Obamacare and what do we do? Do we give the money back to the people? Do we do this? Do we do that? I wish I had an answer. All I know is that when I first got in the insurance business in the 80s, I used to sell a lot of group health insurance, Jess. And I crack up about this now. So the average premium for the policies I sold for a family plan, like a $10 deductible and like a $5 copay for prescriptions, was like $200 a month.
Wow.
Yeah, $200 a month. People, believe me, people weren't happy about that either. They said, oh, my God, that's so expensive. And I just said, yeah, it is. And today, people are paying, particularly if you're like between the ages of 60 and 64, they own you, okay? Trust me, I know. And it's to the tune of like $2,000 a month
It's insane, man.
And that's with a $10,000 deductible each. Okay? I'm not kidding because I know, because that's the plan I have because I'm self-employed. Although, I don't know. Yeah, self-employed. So you're on your own. You got to pay for your own health insurance. So that's another problem. And the other thing is sometimes people, as they get older, generally tend to be more conservative. And I see a lot of people in their 60s starting to move their money from a 60-40 or 70-30 split between stocks and bonds to like a 50-50 or even less. And again, I'm not a money manager and I don't do that stuff in-house, but according to my man Vinny, who does this 24/7, he looks at that and says, you're going to get hurt in the long run because in the long run, you need to combat inflation. And the market has been a great fighter of that. It's not obviously consistent every year, which is why you don't have all your eggs in one basket there. But it is a good fighter. So that's just some of the mistakes I see. The other one is drawing from the pile and assuming that that pile is going to always be there without any guarantees. I think my biggest concern, Chess, and the biggest thing that I focus on in my practice is to make sure that none of my clients run out of money. That is the number one thing that keeps me up and keeps me concerned about my clients. I want to hear that, Steve, this is awesome. Look at the checks I'm getting from you. This is fantastic. I'm enjoying my retirement. Thank you very much. And we do hear that a lot. And that's what we're shooting for. We don't want our clients to be in trouble. So I'd rather have them err on the conservative side of income. Like, in other words, getting more guaranteed income coming into the house than trying to play the Bitcoin market or getting like a little too speculative. And here's the irony. If you got more guaranteed income, then you can be a little bit more aggressive with the rest of the money, right? Because your check's coming in, your income's coming in. I'm not saying to go buy some crazy crypto company, but I am saying that the allocations could be a little different because you're not leaning on the money in a good times and in bad times. I mean, in good times, leaning on the money, you look like a champ. But in bad times, ouch, it could really send you down and you might never recover. So those are the mistakes that I see. That's what I try to help you for, and that's why we have a great team. We have a wonderful attorney. He does trusts. He does all that stuff. And we have a wonderful money manager, and he does all that managing of money. And then you have me who does the income planning and the legacy planning. And together we're an unbeatable force. We have almost 100 years of experience just between the three of us.
Wow.
That's a lot of experience.
That's incredible. That's tons of experience here. And,
Yep.
Also I think one way to avoid having these mistakes happen or falling into these different traps is, having a plan in place. If you don't have a plan, it's essentially a plan to fail. You talked about inflation, folks underestimating it. Inflation is the silent killer of many folks that income plan out there. And of course, thinking about the cost of healthcare, guys, it's going to continue to go up. We'll see what happens with this current debate happening here. But living longer, we're going to need more income, which means you need an income plan. If you don't have a plan in place, if you don't know if you have a plan, if you're trying to figure out how to make a plan, this is where Steve comes in. He and his team, as you just mentioned here, almost 100 years of experience combined together. Come in today. Let's create this custom income plan. Let's do a little health check on your retirement, if we will. And again, that phone number, 508-552-3230, 508-552-3230. That website, fairwayfinancial.net. Steve, apparently a shocking number of people who are getting closer to retirement, they might be making a huge mistake. There was a study by Payroll Integrations that found that 46% of Americans, including many that are 5 to 10 years away from retirement, they're withdrawing funds from their accounts mostly to pay off things like debt or even fund emergencies. Yeah. And an article I read recently said it doesn't necessarily help them rebuild their nest egg. I mean, not a good thing to steal from yourself there. So what impact could this have on their retirement down the road?
A huge impact. You know where that happened a lot is COVID, right? I mean, COVID changed a lot of things, a lot of them for the good. Like there's a lot of people working from home now, that before that it was discouraged, or you can't do that, or this and that. And all of a sudden, oh yeah, no problem. And I think that's a great thing, especially for people who used to commute like from the Cape to Boston. Are you kidding me? I mean, that's going to add years to your job, working from home with less stress. And so that was a positive. But I don't know. I never liked the idea of being able to draw from the 401k. And by the way, during COVID, they waived the penalties if you were under 59 and a half to take money from your 401k. I just thought that was a very dangerous thing there.
But even post-COVID, people are still doing this with the penalty just to dig themselves out of a hole.
I know. And it's not going to help. I mean, in the short run, you think you're doing the right thing. But in the long run, I find that it's not helpful at all, that you have to figure out a way to dig out, especially from credit card debt, because credit card companies are master marketers, okay? They know how to get on your good side, to be your buddy, to send you a piece saying, hey, congratulations, you qualify, like you're the man. And they could care less about you as a person. They don't care. They just want to get that card racked up, and they want to get that debt on there. They want to collect the interest they're charging is just criminal in some cases. I've seen it at 22, 24, 30%. And I don't know how they legally can get away with it. And I wish that was something that was on the agenda for our friends in Congress to do, to stop this nonsense. But speaking of that, I will tell you one positive thing that I've seen come out of these folks recently is the thought of assumable mortgages. And by the way, 20, 30 years ago, this wasn't a mystery. Then all of a sudden it went away. And what I mean by that is the reason a lot of people aren't moving from where they are or buying another house is not just the ridiculous prices of the houses, Jess, but the fact that the mortgage rates aren't high. Like, people are freaking out over a 6.5%, 7% mortgage. That's not the problem, in my opinion. It's the housing prices themselves have shot up more than people's income. That's the underlying problem. So what they're talking about is saying, if you have, let's say you refinance like 5 years ago, like I did, and I grabbed a 2.25% mortgage. All right, I almost feel guilty, but not really. And I took a 15-year, and I looked at it as free money, Jess. I'm like, I'm not going to pay this off. It's stupid for me to pay it off. I can earn more in the bank. What they're now allowing or thinking of doing is, if someone has that and they want to go get another house, they could take that mortgage with them. Can you imagine taking a 2.25% rather than a 6.5%?
I sure can. I can imagine that easily.
That's going to add up to thousands a month, Jet, like thousands a month. So that's a clever idea. So Congress, hey, keep thinking along those lines, and it'll be wonderful. But we as Americans, I don't know, we just like, spending is in our diet. You go to other countries, and like I said, I just, we're doing that trip, and we just came back, from France, and we went to Switzerland and all that fun stuff. It's just a different world. I mean, it's just so different versus coming here, how people feel about money and stuff. And, and a lot of these countries, money is actually, it's not a big deal. It's all about just family. And it's just amazing. It's so cool. It just reminds me of when I grew up in Everett, with all our family around us. But we don't want to get over our head, or we don't want to think like, okay, you got to get up and you got to go work out today. And then all of a sudden you slept in a little bit and it's raining out. It's like, well,
yeah, you're like, nah, I'm going to go tomorrow.
Yeah, it's raining out and I don't want to catch a cold. You start justifying this crazy stuff to where you actually are buying into it. And sometimes we get that way with our money. And we said, oh, you know what? If I take this money and I get rid of this high interest rate credit card, that's going to help my cash flow, and it's going to be awesome. And you know what? On paper, it will help for the short run. But if you don't replace what you took or stay off the credit card, because oftentimes people get rid of it, and then 2 or 3 years later, they're right back where they are with less money. That's my concern. It shouldn't be that easy to try to get out of debt. It took you a while to get into it. So, like losing weight or anything, it should take you a while to get back to where you were, is what I'm saying. So I'd rather see people be more responsible, with their issues. And, hey, everyone's got issues with credit card debt. As a matter of fact, credit card debt is...
Oh, it's record highs these days.
I think it's a record high, or close to it.
Absolutely. People have been living off credit due to inflation. And, there's a lot of jobs being let go right now. So a lot of people are depending on those credit cards with that crazy interest.
And I'm sensitive to it, folks. I don't want to come across like I'm not sensitive to it. I am. But I'm more sensitive to people having more money in retirement and being able to do what they need to do and have, lose that fear, not lose it, but lessen the fear of running out of money. You know what I mean,
sure.
Jess? So,
yeah.
Listen, if this has been on your mind, and I know it has, because especially around the holidays, we all tend to get on the credit card wagon, and sometimes, a little short-term thing, hey, you do it, or some of these stores give you incentives to do it, right, and they'll charge you $0 for 6 months or whatever it is. If you do it wisely, in that case, it might work out. But using the retirement money, I'm not a huge fan of. But a lot of people out there are thinking about this stuff, and I get it, right? And so if you're thinking about it and you want some thoughts or ideas, give us a call, right? Let me help you with my over 35 years of experience. This stuff has come up all the time with my customers, and, we talk about it, walk through it. And I might be able to help you with some thoughts and ideas, okay?
Get more details on the website, fairwayfinancial.net. That's fairwayfinancial.net.
Steve Anzuoni is a licensed insurance provider by the Division of Insurance and is not registered as an investment advisor. Insurance and annuities offered through Steve Anzuoni, Massachusetts Insurance License 3851053. Annuity guarantees rely on the financial strength and claims-paying ability of the issuing insurance company. Read your contract for restrictions, limitations, or penalties. Steve Anzuoni is not licensed in all 50 states. To find out if Steve Anzuoni is licensed in your state, please call 508-398-3337.